Hello again, Fáilte is Jack Music at Madden's. This is a podcast that gets under the lid of the traditional and folk music family in Ireland and beyond. And at this point, I would love your help with something. If you're listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, liking what you're hearing each week, new episodes drop each Monday, by the way. Do drop us a follow and give us a rating, and make sure that you're sharing the podcast with your network and on your socials, because that all helps us to keep this going. And thanks as well for all the feedback. Do get in touch with us anytime at all. Send us a DM, preferably on Instagram. And with that, let's see who is in the snug this week. I'm Lynette Fay. This is Music at Madden's. In the snug this week, we have a man fresh down from the shores of Lough Neagh, a passionate flute player. And he made the choice in the last few years to give up the day job and take on work as a full-time musician. And I'm delighted to say we've got Brendan Mulholland in the snug this week. How are you?
Hi Lynette, it's great to be here. Thanks for asking me to come in.
And Madden's all very dead and quiet here upstairs, which is not the norm, I'd say, for a boy like you, Brendan.
Not really. I was here last Sunday, just playing a wee concert over there, and it was heaving. So to get into the snug is like fairly exceptional.
Yeah, I know that's basically as good as it gets here on the podcast, because we just offer people a seat in the snug that you never can get on a coffee. That's about the outfit. But come here, you said you were playing here last week. So we do there's wee sessions and wee concerts over in the corner there every so often, once a month at least, if not more often. Now, you were in here last week with John Carty.
I was, yeah.
So what's the crack with that?
We're heading off to New Zealand and Australia.
Class.
So we are. And my calendar's hectic, and so is John's. So it just says, look, we need to get together and play a few tunes. So last weekend was the first weekend, Lynette, that suited us. So we played out in my locality, Glenavy, in Crumlin. So part of the big lock sort of movement that we have going out there with music. We played in the Irish school on Friday. We were in my adopted home of South Armagh, in Mulholland, with the TAP Traditional Arts Partnership on Saturday. And then, of course, Bamber got wind that we were coming, so kindly just organised a wee concert for us over there on Sunday, and went great crack, you know.
How did this come about?
Good question. I've met John a few times, maybe Milwaukee, and we seem to catch up down at the Methil, you know, the teaching thing in Limerick. And so I done it last year, and I share a house with John and a couple of others. When we're down there, 3 weeks after it, I got this call from New Zealand, Ceol Ines, this festival, and it says, Brendan, would you like to come out and teach at this festival? I goes, of course. And then there's an invite to Melbourne, in Australia. Could you get a fiddle player? So John had told me a few weeks before, my daughter lives in Australia.
Yeah, Maggie. She's in Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah, Maggie lives in Melbourne. And then I go, sure thing, John. It's just, we're going out next year to see her anyway, so that's how it worked out. Things just sort of fall into place. I can't
believe you. That's mad, isn't it?
Simple as that. Yeah.
And then, well, obviously, you know, it's a bit more than that. The logistics are there, and that's great that it works out. But there must be something between you whenever you play together, obviously, that works for both of you as well.
Yeah, I suppose.
Or did you just always want to take Matt Malloy's place? Because for listeners and watchers, for anybody watching, John Carty and Matt Malloy would have been the big fiddle and flute duo.
Yeah. I was getting a bit of stick that I had the same haircut. You know, I didn't have to get the same haircut, but this haircut's it's not by choice. No, I suppose I have a really big interest in the music of North Connaught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Roscommon, Sligo, Mayo, huge Matt Malloy fan. But of all the other older players that would have went there before, John is an expert in that field.
Yeah.
And I suppose I would gravitate towards those type of tunes. I like being around those types of people. I would be the same for any, should it be Donegal or whatever. But I really love the music from that area. And so we always end up talking about tunes from there, old recordings from there, this version of the tune. So when you play, it's very natural, or it doesn't require a lot of effort. So it's something that, there's that side of it as well. Yeah.
That's lovely. And I love the way that it's getting you into the real sort of traditional stuff as well, and tapping into that, because that's one side of your music. You know, your music and your musical interests just cover the whole scale, don't they?
Yeah.
And I know, you know, you're tapping in there with John Carty into the very, very rich well of traditional music
Yeah.
there of North Connacht, and you're interested in real, I suppose, the
Pure, I suppose.
the pure drop, the
Yeah,
pure drop trad.
the pure drops. There's when it comes to Irish music, traditional music, there's no one bit of it that I don't like. I have an insatiable appetite for playing the flute, and all different types. I could easily go down to Kerry. I don't know as many polkas and slides, but I would just immerse myself in that. Same as Donegal music, the music of County Antrim, as well. People like, say, Johnny Murphy here up the coast could play tunes from composers from here. Probably will end up doing a project or something, Antrim fiddle and flute at some stage. So there's no section of it that I wouldn't pigeonhole myself in anything. But when you're with somebody like, say, John, who's an expert in that field, or say Johnny, or say somebody from Donegal or Kerry, I like to give it 100%, because you're only going to come away a better musician. You know what I mean? And I don't want to stay in the one lane. It widens it out. You're never going to be an expert in this field. Nobody is. But if you can open your vision up just to get a bit more knowledge in, I think it makes you a more rounded and more appreciative and more humble as well.
Do you know, it seems like you're just still so excited by it, Brendan, and you see all these different networks opening up and different possibilities. Was that part of the reason why you gave up the day job to go at this music, to be a musician full time?
That's a really good question, actually. I suppose I always knew from a young age that music is what I wanted to do, right? So I come from a family of, my brother plays music, Stephen Mulholland, but my mother and father wouldn't have played, and the wider family wouldn't have really played music, maybe an Uncle Harry. So we were like tradesmen or farmers and people like that. So music was just something that you did, you know what I mean? But my appetite for it, I could never seem to quench it, and I just love talking music, being around musicians. And then when I got a bit older, starting to, playing the folk scene a bit and that, you just realise, I just love this, So imagine doing this for a living and all the rest of it. So it wouldn't be, your question would be, is it because of the North Connacht stuff or the County Antrim or Donegal or Kerry influences traditional music? It would have been everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody said to me one time, when your obsession becomes your profession, you've landed. So I always says, whenever I do go into this, I'm going to treat it like a job. You know what I mean? So I don't mess about. So I say yes to everything. I work hard at it and I love it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So then it's interesting now, your approach then to the music now that it's a job, right? Mm-hmm. Has that changed music for you?
No. I still take the flute out of the box and I still get excited. You know what I mean? It's like, I remember years ago up at the McPeakes in the Falls Road in Clonard Hall, when you're real young and you've learnt Drowsy Maggie or McLeod's reel, just one of those reels, and you go, yay, got that off, great. I still feel like that. I'd be in my kitchen in Glenavy learning some tune, no audience, nobody near you during the day, and you get it and you go, yeah. You go, fair play. That's never left me. I don't know what you have to do to make that late, but it's never left me. So that gives me the zest to just keep pushing forward. So that, you can get an accolade from an audience at whatever festival you're playing at, but just getting that tune off when you go up to the session in Glenavy, Lily Johnson's, where we play, and go, here lads, have this new reel, will you hear this? That never gets old.
That's amazing. And then, but also your dedication and your discipline to honing the craft and to making sure that you are, would you learn new tunes constantly? How many?
Constantly.
Right.
Yeah. I'd be quite, anyone that knows me would know I'm quite disciplined. You know what I mean? So I'd have, like, say, 2 hours in the afternoon, do that, and then 2 hours in the evening. I always thought when I left full-time work, when I was working with these people, did you see this box set? Did you see that show? Did you see this or that? Yep. And I was going, no, I don't want to say I'm playing the flute at night. I just, no, just to watch TV. And I said to my wife, Aisling, see, whenever I leave full-time work, I'll be able to know what people are talking about now. Talking about Breaking Bad or this. I'll be able to know. It never changed for me. I play during the day and I play during the night. So I can't get out of that habit of doing it. You know what I mean? So.
But that's a major part of working for yourself as well, Brendan, that discipline is so incredibly important, because managing your time is everything when you're working for yourself and you're taking on different projects. And sometimes, the diary's looking empty, and you fill it up with things and you populate things in, and the next thing it bottlenecks, and it does this and it does that, and you could be working 24 hours for 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
Does that ever get in on you?
Yeah, you could be, how do you put it politely? You could be a busy fool if you wanted to.
Yes.
Like saying yes to absolutely everything.
Yes.
But you do have to be quite structured
Yeah.
in sort of what you take on. There was a while, I suppose I'm 6 years now, full-time at the music, and there was a time there I did say yes to absolutely everything, and then it was just, some things were taken. But you learn to balance it out. You know what I mean? So if I was, say, practicing, I would do like see this 30 minutes, I do 30 minutes, say, technique or whatever it is, cup of tea. Next 30 minutes is this, next 30 minutes. So it would be a 2-hour slot, and every 30 minutes would be broken down into something. And then at night it would be the same. So you always have something. So I always allow time to like research and listen. It's important. Listening is an important part. So yeah, and I find that helps keep me, you're ready. If somebody rings you, you're ready for a gig.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about your approach and, how the last 6 years has changed you as a musician and what you've been doing. You've been doing really exciting things. But going back to the flute is your instrument. Yeah. That's what you're known for. And you mentioned already that you're from Glenavy, the shores of Lough Neagh.
Yeah.
County Antrim man. How did you pick up the flute? How did you start playing it?
Yeah. I mentioned Francy McPeake earlier. So I think I started playing music. We live out just outside of Glenavy in a parish called The Rock. The parish is, the townland's called Tullyrusk.
And
so
it's The Rock.
It's The Rock.
Love it.
It's The Rock, yeah.
There's one of them in Tyrone as well.
Oh, I know there is.
A lot of people know it, all right.
Yes, I know that there. The Hayden's Bar. But yeah, so I think Lynette, I was probably about 7 or 8, in around that age. And a good friend of mine, Mark Mulligan, his father, Stephen Mulligan, still with us, organised tin whistle classes after Mass on a Sunday. And that was it. We went into the sacristy, and there was like 5 or 6 of us, and this guy called Jerry O'Donnell from Belfast, this little man came out, and he started teaching us the whistle. And that was it. And I have to say, I was useless. I was no use, and you liked it. Yeah. But I wasn't particularly good. So at that time, I suppose, I make no secret of it, at school, I wasn't particularly great, and I wasn't particularly great at football. So if you're not good at football and you're not good at school, you're thinking, geez,
I need to get something
I'm
here.
crap at everything here, So that was okay. Done that for a few years. And then I think it was Stephen Mulligan, Mark's father, says, we'll take these guys down to Clonard to Francy McPeake up on the Falls Road there. And it changed everything for me. It just changed everything. So we went in there, and by that time, my brother, Stephen, you start off in the whistle, and when you get half good, right, what instrument do you want to pick? So Stephen played the banjo, Mark played the fiddle, and I was still in the whistle. So Francie came over to me, I think I was 11, which would be 1983 or 4, in around that. And he gave me a flute. And his exact words, I'm not going to use the bad word, but he says, young fella, I'm looking up at Francie. Yeah. He goes, take that home and blow the shh out of it. Right? That was it. I was like, right, Francie. So I took this flute, and I was so happy that I'm not going to be a whistle player no more. I'm going to be a flute. And I remember driving up the road. I think my dad was driving a Ford Cortina at the time. Funny things you remember. And I took it out of the case, and I was just looking at it. I was going, wow, Francie, give me this. And I did blow the SH1T out of it. And it's true. And it was the first thing it could do. And I can't describe it any other way than I picked it up and I was able to get a sound out of it.
Wow, because
and that was it.
That's not easy.
I know, but maybe it was meant to be. I don't know. But when you're not in the football team, you're not pretty good at school, but then this is the first thing you could do and do well. Next Saturday night coming down, I was nearly kicking the doors in, running up to Francie. Wait till you hear what I can do. And that was it. So that was the start of it. That lit something in me that hasn't been out.
That's a gorgeous story.
Yeah.
Was there something in the fact that Francy McPeake handed the flute to you as well? And
It
that
was.
you knew he was a bit of a deal?
Oh yeah, of course. When you're that age, you're impressionable. Like, so that was the start of
He had faith in you.
Yeah, he did. He was the first one sort of to do that, and I recognised that.
Yeah.
But then, I at the same time I went to the McPeaks, but I never really had a flute teacher as such. I never really had flute lessons, and I don't read music. So how I've ended up being a flute player for a living sometimes is beyond me. I can't figure it out. So at that stage, there was groups and stuff there, and you put you right, learn these tunes, go into that. But no real flute teacher to teach you the technique and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do remember in those formative years, there's two people stand out, and they're going to kill me if they watch this, but I'm going to mention their names because I don't care. When you're 11 years old and somebody's like 16 or 17, a bit older than you, like they're
cool.
They're the cool. I want to be like that.
Yeah.
But the first one was Gary Duffy. Gary Duffy, I was like, he was so technically brilliant, and just everything he did in the flute, I was going, he's like Matt Malloy. He's even better, And I suppose that...
But you know him.
But I knew him, and on a Saturday you could see him, and he might just show you just something, or, and you're just like, wow. And the other person, who definitely will kill me, is Deirdre Havlin. Deirdre Havlin from Ballymoney, County Antrim. I remember going to some fla. I never really did competitions, but I was at some fla, and Deirdre was warming up outside, and this music and the joy in her playing and the way she moved. It was like, she's still like that, so bubbly and happy. It came across in her music. I'd never heard that before. So those two people there would have been the first, that, wow, that's incredible. So
it's kind of, was it with Deirdre, was it allowing the personality to come through, that aspect of it?
Shone. She was dancing with her feet, and she was like moving, and just the music flowing out of her
feeling it
was effortless, and I was going, I want to be just like that.
That's class.
Still trying to.
Pull up a seat. You have found Music at Madden's, which is a cosy corner for conversation, for craft, and the crackle of live tunes. Pour yourself a Jameson and ginger and lime as you listen. Enjoy that, or call in for one the next time you're about. Please do enjoy Jameson responsibly, for over 18s only. Blasta.
But I think what's coming across is that you're still incredibly excited by the music. You're excited by the instrument as well, and also exploring what it can do and where it can take you. And like, it's taken you to so many. You've taken it on in so many different ways, because from traditional Irish music to the music of your rooted in Lough Neagh and County Antrim, then also North Connacht, as you've mentioned. You also played in folk bands.
Played in folk bands for years.
As well.
Yeah. I suppose there's when I got to about late teens, got a car and could drive and stuff, there wasn't so much traditional music out where I lived, sort of around the Rock Parish and Glenavy, Crumlin. There was a family called Maguire's who played in a pub called the McKenna's, down by the Loch Shore, heading towards Antrim. And that was the first session I was ever in. And my legs weren't long enough to hit the floor. I do remember that. Bag of crisps and bottle of Coke. But move forward to sort of late teens, that age. Yeah, there was a lot of folk singers lived out our way, and they always invited me in to play with them. And I thought it was great, just playing behind a microphone. God, this is great. While I suppose the folk music wouldn't be, say, and I don't mean to be demeaning at all, wouldn't be as complex as, say, some of the Irish traditional tunes. I just knew I loved playing in these folk bands.
But is there like a freedom of expression with it that you bought into?
Absolutely. What it gave me was living at home. Mum and Dad would have been listening to, Clancy Brothers, James Last, Big Tom, Susan McCann, Creedence Clearwater, the Beatles, all stuff like that, Chieftains, and I would have been listening a lot too. Obviously, Matt Malloy.
You've just described many households there. I think we all have that in our veins, and we don't want to admit it.
Yeah, you're going out the same way you come in, and it's just like, and what do you call him? Wheeling Jennings as well.
Class.
Johnny Cash. So I suppose ABBA too. All of that stuff. Listening to it, I just love music. Right, there's just rock, lots of folk, I suppose, not so much traditional, and all of these other influences, country and that. So when I started to play with folk singers and folk bands, it gave me a platform to go off and try something
Yeah.
and come back in.
Yeah.
And that really helped me as a flute player. So I think back in the sort of like early 90s and stuff, late 80s, there would have been this, oh no, folk music's it's not as complex as traditional music, the real is trad. I never looked at it like that because I never had a flute teacher that says you must stay in this lane.
These are the hard and fast rules.
These are the hard and fast rules. So
Yeah.
when I teach, I go, first thing I do, I don't have rules. I don't
Okay.
do rules. So be respectful of your tradition. But playing with those bands, and I still continue to do that, not as much maybe, it widened your thinking and stuff. So my brother-in-law plays in a band called Raglan from South Armagh. They're a great bunch of guys. So when I'm not like recording or touring or gigging, I play with the guys. And it's just, for me, it's a breath of fresh air playing with sort of Raglan and that type of thing, because I would be listening to, say, Herbie Hancock, or it could be Norah Jones, or there's something that I've been listening to. I'm going, I like that there. But I go to do a folk gig with those guys, and you can get away with trying it. It mightn't work, and then you figure it out, and it does work. But if I was playing with, say, Tempest,
Yes.
Music in the Glen, or whatever it is in a traditional setting, I would never think of doing that. So playing in a folk environment, say like Raglan, it gives you, if you approach it right, it gives you a broader base of your instrument and musicality, which can only, I still get excited by it, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's helped defined me as a musician.
I would say it gives you more than that, because I remember. You remember
everything.
Mulholland.
This is going to scare me.
No, I don't actually. But I remember one night coming in here. I can't remember what was on or where you were, but it was one of those Saturday nights when you open the door in Madden's and it's quiet enough out in the street, and you open the door and I mean you just walk in to madness.
It's great.
And yourself and a couple of the lads from Raglan were over in the corner downstairs in the downstairs bar on the tables playing tunes. I don't know where you were playing that night, but it was like what is it, the pig?
The big gig.
The pig gig was in Belfast for the night.
It was.
And you brought all the vibes. And it was class track.
I remember that actually. That was the launch of my second solo album, Barton's Bay. And I'd just done a concert in the Duncarn, up the Antrim Road there, as you well know. And it was like, we had a great lineup of musicians on the stage and everything polished and all the rest of it. So where do you go after a gig? You come to Madden's. And then the Raglan guys were there, and you come in, and it's just like completely there. So it's like it's two worlds. It was great, like
it was deadly.
It's deadly, like, you know what I mean.
So funny.
So
I think it perfectly describes exactly what you've just been talking about. Do you know, because that was the night where those two worlds just, they didn't so much collide as kind of passed on to each other and kind of found a way of complementing each other as they do in your life. And like, even I'm looking at the album you recorded with Mickey McCluskey, I have here.
Oh yeah.
This from ages ago, all on my post-its, all sticking on it because of track listings and all the rest of it. And there's a track on here that I always just loved the groove of it.
I know.
And you know the one I'm going to tell you is the Trip Around Mollusk.
Yeah.
Because you wrote that tune walking around Mollusk, and you had the Doors in your ears or something. You were listening to the Doors.
It was like
by them, wasn't it?
It's different albums bring out different things in you and work with different people.
Yeah.
Bring out different things. So I think that was third album in. And Mickey, I would have been playing with Mickey out in a pub our way called Clenahan's. Clenahan's on the Soldiers Town Road, just outside of Glenavy. We played music in there for years and years. But Mickey comes from a rock background.
Yeah.
Right, not trad. And his approach is completely different. So whenever we were playing, there was just things he was doing in the session. It just was right up my street. It was bringing that other side, creative side. You know what I mean? So we just sort of clicked. And that album in particular, that would have been probably my most creative time.
Yeah.
Because you're playing with somebody who's extremely creative. So it was, the Trip Around Mollusk. I love watching films about musical bands, you know, Rocket Man. I don't know how many times I've watched that. I love films about musicians, but I've been watching The Doors. So, that one there. So I said to Mickey, I think I've composed this tune. So I've been out when I was working in Mollusk quiet lunchtime for a walk. So that marchy type rhythm.
Yes.
You know, just thinking dum, you know, do dum dee dum da 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 dum. So that was the rhythm I was walking to. So when I went into that part of it,
You were walking on through to the other side.
I was walking on through the other side, and I listened to it and was going, yeah, composed this tune. It's really original. Would you hear this here? You know, because I knew it would suit his guitar playing. And he listened, and I was so convinced this is my, you know, that is my tune. And he goes, first two parts great, but the third part you've ripped off the Doors.
Good on, Mickey.
I went, what? I said, it's impossible. He says, no, it's not. He says, play it again. And then he started doing the Doors riff on the guitar. I go, oh God, maybe it is. So, unknown to me, a musical influence like the Doors crept in, you know, to what I was doing. But when it was pointed out, we laugh about it. You know what I mean?
That album's really special. And I think it's just that you hit that sweet spot of the duo. And it sounds like there's even more than that going on, because you are bringing so much to the table, both of you musically, creatively, experimenting, just going there, leaning into it, and the groove is just fantastic. And also there's lovely, like, really poignant moments on the album as well. That lovely version of the Part in Glass as well, and the Daffodils on the Hillside also. I love. And then Shehanna Gosuvnius.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is just gorgeous.
Mickey's composition, yeah.
And the airs, like a slow air, is something you're really fond of. You're particularly fond of, as well as getting into the groove of things.
I think
there's a special space there.
Yeah, there's playing slow airs. I suppose when I was growing up, you know, just a long sort of answer to your question, there's always a couple of rabbit in the headlights moments that happen. You know, for me it was definitely Matt Malloy. You know, so I think it's probably Gary Duffy or Paddy Davey or some of these ones give me cassette tapes of Matt Malloy. When you're like 11, you're learning the flute. I was just...
That you wore out?
I wore out completely, and huge Matt Malloy fan, still am. I think he knows that. So you'd be listening to Matt playing the slow airs and doing that. But then the other rabbit in the headlight moment for me was meeting Jean-Michel Villon in my early 20s. And we became good friends, and huge respect for him. But his approach is completely different, especially on slow stuff. And it was a rabbit in the headlights moment. I went, how is he able to shape and form those notes where, like, he could play like a whisper and then just take it up, you know, like crescendo, and just make the music bend like that. I became really fascinated by that, because I didn't really hear it much, I suppose, in flute playing in Irish music, you know what I mean? Or not as much as I would like. And then, so I went down a bit of a rabbit hole in that. And then when I was listening to, my wife Aisling loves Eva Cassidy, right? And singers like that. But that really hit me like a sledgehammer when I listened to Eva Cassidy singing. The vulnerability that she can have. If you listen to her version of Danny Boy, it's just incredible. I love a lot of the jazz stuff she does as well. But that version, I suppose maybe Somewhere Over the Rainbow, where she can hit a note, boom, it's just like explodes. And then a couple of notes later, it's just like a quiver. So it's that musical emotion, musical expression. I suppose that is how I hear when I play something slow, like a slow air. It's just open up your heart, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not just the big strong tone in the flute and he's strong, you know, no. Come off and show your sensitive vulnerability side, and then show the control into those bigger notes like that. So those influences would have formed me playing with Mickey and how to play something slow.
How does that feel when you tap into that vulnerability and that emotion in a concert context, and you're on stage, you're playing a slower like that, you're giving it all that emotion, and you can feel it clicking with the audience?
You ask such good questions. It's hard to answer that. Selfishly, when I'm in that place, I'm gone. Like, I'm in a different place.
Yeah.
I'm aware there's an audience there.
Yeah.
But you'd
have to be though.
Yeah. You're just in a different. And I'm thinking, how many people is this a sound coming? I'm locked in when that happens. When I can hear it from the monitor or the inner ear, when I'm there and I can hear, it's a feeling that if you got that feeling and put it into a bottle and put it in a chemist and give it to somebody, they would instantly feel better. That's the only way I can describe it. Downside of it is when you come off stage, and I'm very chatty, as you know, when you come off stage, using that much emotion and all the rest of it, I just need time to be, just give me time of my own. You know, I know some of these gigs you should run out and sell CDs and be chatty and all. I need to just settle and come back into my normal self. That's how much emotion, you know. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I think that's a really important thing for audience members to understand, though, about musicians. And, you know, a lot of people have said that here before on the podcast. Remember Brian Finnegan saying the same thing? He's given so much of himself and so much of his energy to his performance. At the end of it, there's times where he just wants to have a cup of tea and go home.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's done what he's done on stage, and you've nothing else to give, really. And I know that people want a wee bit of you, and, you know, obviously there's the business side of it, there's the merch to sell, there's, you know, to go and shake the hands and say hello to people and all the rest of it. But there's nights where the human has to be acknowledged as well, where you're just wrecked after giving it socks on stage.
I think it's
for an hour and a half
25 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it does take you a while when you get that in touch with your music and that soulful part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can't, I don't know, these singers, I don't know whether you can sound like that if you just go through the notes. You know what I mean? You have to connect. You know what I mean? And what I find, if I'm playing like traditional music, say with like Tempest or Music in the Glen, the local session, or folk music, say the Raglan lads and things like that, it brings a certain different energy into all that, and you tap into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but what I do is if I'm involved in something, I don't do 99.9. It's 100%. And probably a lot of people that I play music with probably do their heads in sometime, because no, lads, you have to get, you know, and they just, he's an insatiable, he's like a dynamo, he won't stop. But so I won't do, it doesn't matter if it's a small project or a big project, I will bring 100% to the table, and I will leave it on stage, like, you know what I mean? So I approach, should there be two people in the audience, I'm going to be giving it socks. Should there be Celtic connections, massive crowd, it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? It's, that's how I approach things.
Yeah, it's all the same. The performances treated the same way. Take me to the session then, because you mentioned Glenavy a couple of times there, and rightly so, where you grew up, and maybe your music was shaped there. Like, how was your music shaped by the session?
So I live up in the village of Glenavy. There would be 4 or 5 of us that have probably been playing music for 40 years. You know, like you know what age I am now, but started when we were 7 or 8. But I suppose back then, and I'm talking about early 80s here, McKenna's Bar at the Loch Shore, that would have been the place. A family called Maguire's, Charlie, May, Big Mickey Maguire. And we would have been taken down there as kids, and then move on a wee bit, myself and my brother and couple of friends been to the McPeakes. We're in our late teens, early 20s. We're, trying to get a few tunes. There was a few sessions started, didn't work. A few sessions started, didn't work. But there was a pub called Clenahan's in the Soldiers Town Road. And there was a lot of things came out of that. I think Realty came out of that. Certainly part of Tempest.
Yeah.
Came out of that. Music in the Glen came out of that. Mickey Mulholland McCluskey came out of that. So I think we played there for, oh my God, Lynette, maybe 20 plus years. It's closed down now, sadly. So that would have been the glue that got us all together, going, we have something great going on here.
Yeah.
And, we would have had people coming in from Lurgan, from Armagh, out from Belfast. So...
because you're not that far away.
No, we're only 13, 14 mile out the road.
Yeah.
So then we've organised this session in Lily Johnson's in Glenavy. There's also another session in Crumlin. So we do have a nice musical network sort of out where we are, and we're getting people travelling from all over to come to it. So
is that a big compliment whenever people are seeking out your session?
It really
to
is.
come and just to get stuck in.
It really is. Guy there, Stephen Mulholland. There's 2 Stephen Mulhollands, my brother Stephen and another guy, Stephen Mulholland fiddle. And Stevie started Big Loch Music. He's a great visionary, has Stephen, and he's tapped into our energy And round the loch in general, you know, there's an interest where we are. You might have people where we are, they mightn't come down to Belfast for a session.
Yeah.
They mightn't come down to the Trad Fest, which is superb, by the way.
Yeah.
They mightn't go up to the Cross Keys. But if there's something on local, then they would do
They're
that.
more likely to come out
They're
of the
more
woodwork.
than likely to that. So
Yeah.
if you have, like, say example, this is how I look at it. So to make Irish music a success, if people like, say, Lynette Fay, doing what you do, people like, say, Bamber here in Madden's venue, and then visionaries there like, say, Donald O'Connor in the Belfast Trad Fest. So you have all this going on, right people, right place, right time, right? Out where we are recently, we have the INID, the Irish school, medium school in Crumlin.
Yeah.
Girl Roisin runs that. So there's the venue. We have enough of musicians about us, and then we have Stephen. He's the right person, Stephen Mulholland, Big Lock Music.
And he's coordinating all of this.
And he's coordinating. So we have the venue, we have the interest, and people are coming out now. People are coming out, you know, from our locality, not musicians, just coming out to hear it. That wouldn't maybe go anywhere else. So we've tapped into that. So we have the local sessions going on, and we're organising a couple of gigs, maybe 4 times a year. And to finish that off, the first time I went away to play music was 1996. I think it was Scotland. Can't remember the name of the place. But anyway, it was with a band called Cululta, a local band, you know, and I think every musician in our way has been through the band, right?
Yeah.
And so 2026, I went 30 years of travelling and gigging and that. So I've met some fantastic people over the years. And they've come out to Glenavy and they've played local sessions, stayed with me and that. So we decided to organise a quiet weekend, and we invited maybe, I think it was 7 or 8 people from Switzerland, Brittany, France, Australia, and where else? Sweden. And they all come over. These are people that I've met over the years. Yeah. So when I go away, the hospitality that these people give me, it's just, I explained to Aisling, my wife, it's just, you have no idea how well
extremely well looked after.
Like, my faith in humanity is, that's why maybe I'm so positive all the time. My faith in humanity is good when you see the other side of people that really go the extra mile for you and going, do you know what? I want to give these people this on my home turf. So after 30, I says, maybe 1 weekend a year, we'll invite them in and spoil them, because they do that for Irish musicians. So we've done that for 2 years now, actually. So the guys out our way they're getting invited as crack squads, called these crack squads, over to other festivals in France and stuff. So now they don't need me, they're making their own mark on that. So these people in these other countries are thinking, Glenavy's a hot spot for music. Little do they know, like 25 years ago, it wasn't really.
Yeah.
So it's the energy you need. As I say, Bamber, you need the right place.
Yes.
You need the right people like yourself and a visionary like Stephen and stuff. But it seems to be all clicking, and it does my heart good.
There's also something, I think, Brendan, in the Lough Shore at the minute. And whether it is because Lough Neagh itself is an absolute chaos, the people of the Lough Shore are rallying and they are rising and they are coming out to support different things. I was lucky enough to host a couple of nights there, showcasing the talent from right around the shores
sure,
of
I remember
Lough Neagh,
that,
like in Ballyronan Marina. Yeah. And like, I couldn't get over it when you think about, you know, the likes of yourself, your album Barton's Bay. Barton's Bay is on the shores of the Lough.
Right in the shore, yeah.
Very special place to you. You know, then you're up into Toom, and we know that you have Jeglin O'Devlin who organised the night from Toom. Then you're coming round into Arbo. We know of all the calibre musicians from there. Yeah. Down into Derry Tresk, over to Mahara, Barrycure, Castor Bay. You know, you've all of that, and the people who come out, who gave their time for free because they wanted to be part of this, was just really, there was something very, very powerful about it.
Yeah, the power of humans. Another passion of mine is cycling. I love cycling. Yes. Not much good at it, but I love cycling. And so we would go round. I live in Glenavy, so you're around the loch quite a bit, and then the odd time,
You've a tune, The Lap of the Loch, haven't you? On Music from the Glen, or was there one, something like that?
Conor Lamb.
Conor Lamb wrote it, did he?
Mayday Shores. Mayday Shores, yeah. So there's an affiliation with the loch, and every time I see it, I call it my old friend. So when I'm out in the bike and I see the loch, hello old friend, just in my head. So you have a passion for it. So I composed a tune called Barton's Bay, the name of the album. So when I'm away, I'm on stage and I'm playing. If I'm playing Barton's Bay,
I have it here.
yeah. If I'm playing that tune, I'm in a different place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm at the Lough Shore. Like you could be in Belgium or wherever you're playing, or in France. I'm at the Lough Shore. I can hear the water. You know, so that's the emotion. That's what it means. It's not just, it means more than that. It's a piece of art. You know what I mean? You connect it.
The mindfulness that you're bringing into that. Just want to talk briefly about your teaching, because you said earlier on there that you weren't taught. You never had a teacher. You're self-taught, but you are teaching now. And
which is hard to believe.
No, but it's fantastic, because what you said earlier on was that your approach to teaching is that there are no rules, and you're almost giving your students agency from the very start. So in your new career now as a full-time musician, how has teaching, I suppose, what does teaching mean to that career now?
I think that if I live to 90, I'll be the eternal flute student. I'm passionate about the instrument, right? So I'm passionate to teach, because I was never taught. I would have loved to have met me when I was 14 or 15, right? So the music was given to me freely. So as Picasso said, find your talent in life and give it away. That's it. That's your job as an artist, right? So I firmly believe that, and I stand by that. So when it comes to teaching, when I left full-time employment, there's three things I wanted to do. I wanted to do a flute school, start a flute school online, record the videos, people pay prescription to start a band, which I did, and do a solo album. But the teaching thing, I just love it. There's no other way to describe it. I just love it. There was, I'll give you an example. There was a festival in Canada called the Boxwood Festival. And I'm very lucky in my flute journey, that I've been invited to lots of places to do workshops, and play and perform. But there was one, I wanted to do this Boxwood one, which is ran by a fabulous flute player and musician called Chris Norman from Nova Scotia. Now, they do have other instruments, but it's sort of heavy on the flute side. So they have Irish flute, so I was invited to do that. They have two guys from Sweden, Marcus and Andreas Tullberg. Hi guys, if you're watching. Playing Swedish music, fantastic. They had this American lady called Adrienne, older lady, wore these mad hats. I loved her, mad as a box of frogs, class crack. She played the sort of Jewish klezmer music, and a Renaissance player, early period Renaissance and classical.
Yeah.
And also Chris Norman on Cape Breton music. But the thing I loved about that festival, every afternoon, all the teachers, you had the opportunity to go to sit in somebody's class, which some teachers don't like. I couldn't wait. I was more excited than the students. I was kicking the door in, let me in. And it was so good to be with other flute players of other genres.
Yeah.
I was so keen to learn, and so I went to Marcus and Andreas's class, and they were so organised. And I went, God, I really need to up my game here. Everything methodical, laid out, and they were fantastic. Went to the Jewish, the klezmer type music, and I could follow it a bit, but not an expert, but I could follow it.
Out of the comfort zone?
Out of the comfort zone, big time. But I went to the Renaissance early period music, completely out of, I couldn't get it. And I sat there and I put the flute back in the box. I had enough sense to do that. And I'm just going to sit and listen. And I learned so much just by listening.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the flute in the box, I went, I have so much to learn about this. I don't think I could live long enough to learn what I want to learn. So I have that passion that you bring to it. And then on the last day of that festival, whatever happened, my class was the free period. And all the flute teachers came to my class, and I ended up on the board. I said, I'm sorry about this mess behind me, but it's a couple of jigs. And we had great crack. So I managed to teach these couple of jigs and played a few variations in that. So at the session that night, I said, right, let's play the jigs. So we had great crack with it. So I think that's what they embraced. So when we started to play them, I could see these flute players coming running down from the bar, getting the flutes out. Oh, we know these jigs. So it done my heart good. So yeah, I have a passion for teaching.
It comes across, Brendan,
Yeah.
may I say, comes across in spades. And it just feels like you have found a really good space and a really good path for yourself at this stage of your life.
Yeah.
You know, you're an electrician.
Yeah,
The world is crying out for electricians at the minute, Brendan.
I know.
I know an awful lot of people who could do with your phone number and have plenty of work for you. But there was something clearly in you speaking to you saying you've other things to do here and you're away exploring all of it, and it just seems so exciting. So all the best with John Carty and the tour. I'll probably see you before that.
Yeah.
We're due another podcast, I'd say, with Tempest to get the whole
Yeah, with
audience
the guys
moved.
and yeah.
Yeah, because I think that definitely is due. And then again, Music in the Glen, we have to get Colin or Connor
Connor
and
Deirdre.
Deirdre in. You know, because there's so many different things that you're involved in.
Yeah.
And love that we got a good shout out for Mickey McCluskey today, because he's one of the quiet heroes, I think, of
really is.
the trad world.
Underrated.
Yeah, totally. Just to finish off, who is your favourite musician of all time?
Could you stop asking me these things? Oh my God.
I know this changes, but
Okay, so I have been asked this more than a few times. My favourite flute player of all time, and always will be, Matt Malloy.
yep.
Right. I'm an absolute huge fan of Jean-Michel Villon and like Sylvain Brou, another guy
Yeah.
I hugely admire. But I suppose if you were to ask me my favourite singer of all time, it has to be Freddie Mercury.
Did not see that coming.
I think he's just incredible. I think his range,
Yeah.
his emotion,
Yeah.
even Cassidy be well up there too.
Favourite song from Freddie Mercury?
Stop with these questions.
I grew up in a Queen household.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
We Are the Champions. I suppose has to be well up there, like,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, favourite musician, definitely I'd have to divide it down to Matt Malloy, because it formed the pathway in my life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I started playing the flute in around 83, 84, County Antrim. So as Picasso said, find whatever it is your talent is, give it away. So whenever I leave this earth or whatever, if I leave flute playing in County Antrim in a better place, given what I can give to it, I've done my job. So that's it.
Oh, I think that's a gorgeous place to leave our conversation today, Brandon. Thanks a million. I've loved every minute of this.
Thank you for
Brendan
having me.
Mulholland, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
this
you,
week
Lynette.
on Music at Madden's.
Thank you so much.